Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sakina Tillman. I am a clinical fellow at the University of Baltimore School of Law in the Low Income Taxpayers Clinic. And for today's fireside chat, we'll be discussing about the offset bypass refunds. And we had two amazing panelists that will discuss that. Our first panelist is Maurice Smith. She's an account technical advisor for the Internal Technical Advisor Program. And we also have Rebecca Thompson. She's an interim vice president for strategic partnership and networking building. So I would like to welcome them too. Please let me know if I missed any information about your brief bio.
I am no longer interim, so I'm the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Network Building with Prosperity now.
Okay.
No worries.
Okay, correct. I'm sorry about that. And I think we can get started as some people have joined already, so welcome. So the big question that we have for today is, what is an offset bypass refund?
Okay, I'll start. First of all, because I am an employee of the IRS, I do need to disclose that anything I present here are those of my own opinion and views, and not that of as a representative of the IRS or Taxpayer Advocate Service. So just that I have that covered. So anything I talk about here, it's available on, you can see it on irs.gov, and the information is available to general public if you know how to get to it, which is the biggest thing with OBRs. So the IRS has a policy. We all know if you have a balance due and you're expecting a refund, the IRS is going to take your money and apply it towards that balance due. However, the IRS has a policy not to offset an overpayment against an outstanding federal tax liability, and this is under IRC 6402. If the taxpayer can demonstrate they have a hardship, and hardship within the meetings is for purposes is an economic hardship within the meaning of IRC 6343 and the corresponding treasury regulations. And it's basically unable to meet basic living expenses, which right now there's a lot of that going on. The effects of COVID and various things shut down and closures. So when the IRS does exercise their policy not to offset, it's called an offset bypass refund, commonly known as OBR for the acronym. The only thing is there are time limits on when the IRS is permitted to issue an OBR refund. And those types of requests must be acted on immediately. So that's it in a nutshell.
Well, thank you. Now, you said that the taxpayer has to show an economic hardship. So can you explain how a taxpayer needs to show an economic hardship to receive the OPR?
So that's what we refer to within the IRS as hardship documentation. Usually the basic things that can show that type of documentation, eviction notices, utility shutoff notices, because those are your basic living expenses, things like that. Various different situations. It could be the case of you're unable to, you require medical care and you're being denied it because you have balances due with a medical provider who, so you owe us, we're not providing you any more care. That's a basic living thing to be able to obtain that. So documentation to show that. But we know now with, there are some documentation that because of limitations on being able to access and get notices or things like that, that the local taxpayer advocate in each office has the ability to accept verbal information and confirm it and be able to use that as a written documentation. It's something that's verified in conversation. We're talking with the local taxpayer advocate or the LTA, and they document that information to substantiate that hardship situation. Another way to also show hardship information, because it goes on the same principles of financial, your financial information. One of the best ways is to do out like a spreadsheet or a chart, just something similar to, or you can actually use the form 433F. It's a collection information statement. So normally that statement is used to help to determine the taxpayer's ability to pay a delinquent tax liability. It's the same information that can be shown to show that the taxpayer is unable to pay basically living expenses utilizing the national and local standards.
Okay, that was a lot. Thank you so much. So after the taxpayer shows there's an economic hardship based on the information that you said, the substantiation, what is next? What happens next after, I guess they call the IRS, and either verbally tell someone that they have an economic hardship or provide substantiation? What are the next steps for this taxpayer?
Okay, so there is a timing thing that's involved here, because currently, processing generally results in tax assessment reflecting the same date as the posting of the offset. So, but the one good thing about this is that the transaction usually appears on the IRS IDRS computer system before the offset actually is scheduled to happen. It uses, so the information shows earlier. In that time frame between it shows and the date, which is referred to as the 23C date of the offset, the IRS has the ability to issue or honor an OBR request for that, to do that manual refund. So it's a very short window. So usually electronically filed tax return, that could happen in a matter of days, usually somewhere currently between 10 to 20 days. So if everybody's encouraged to file electronically now, because paper returns have been quite the issue getting them processed. So you want to make that contact with the IRS with all your documents gathered and be ready to be able to fax them, directly in, usually within days after filing electronically. And you receive file electronically, you receive a receipt to show that your tax return was accepted. Doesn't mean it is accepted to go into the processing system, doesn't necessarily mean that changes won't occur, but it's got to be within days of electronically filing.
Okay, Maria, we do have a question in the chat. Do you prefer that we answer it now, or would you like to wait until we go over our questions?
I usually like to go if it's relevant to the conversation at the moment. If someone's jumping ahead and asking a question, it may be something we're going to get to in a few minutes.
Okay, this is relevant to what you just said. The question is, can you repeat the window to request the OBR?
Okay, it's usually within days. If electronically filed tax return, within a few days after that return was sent electronically and accepted, you're going to make that contact with the either directly with the IRS customer service or with taxpayer advocate service. If you have all your documentation, you can contact the IRS directly, because you notify them on the phone that you're requesting an OBR and that you have all the documentation ready to fax to that customer service representative so they can work it immediately.
Okay. So based on what you said, it's preferred that the return gets electronically filed to expedite this process. Now, let's say that a taxpayer is filing a paper return. Do you request the OBR at the same time that you are filing the paper return?
Paper returns right now, everybody's experienced it. The IRS is still way behind. If possible, electronic filing is there. There are some instances where electronically it can't be filed electronically, and you do have to file paper. Those instances, the return's not going to show as quickly on to the system at the time, so you may want to, I hate to say it, reach out to Taxpayer Advocate Service directly to work with getting that expedited.
Okay, and do you have to wait until the actual tax return is processed to get this OBR? There's a question in the chat that says, what if customer service rep can't see the return has already been filed? Is that an issue with requesting the OBR as well?
They should see it within days, but if they're not seeing it, I wouldn't wait and try to work directly with the IRS then. I hate to say it, we have plenty of work in Taxpayer Advocate Service, but this is one thing that's very important to all of us, you know, is to contact your local taxpayer advocate office to, you know, tell them up front your return is being filed for a client and that you're requesting an OBR. They do have special procedures within the IRM for Taxpayer Advocate Service employees to be following, and that's whether or not tax return has been filed yet, or you're ready to file the tax return. That call can be made ahead of time, and you can discuss with your assigned customer service case advocate when is the best time for them to electronically file, so they can monitor, you know, on a daily basis for that return to show, to be able to honor that OBR request.
Okay, thank you so much. I do see there's some more questions in the chat, but I think these questions can be answered as we discuss more about this process. So those that have questions in the chat, I will get to them. So thank you so much. Now, thank you, Maria. You gave us a lot of information. Thank you so much. Now, I did read about the new policy regarding OBRs with offer and compromise. Can you go over that?
I can. That's something brand new. But often compromises as of November 1st of 2021, they did do a policy change. One of the major policy changes in there that it talks about at first is having to do with the fact that refunds that are expected in the current processing year, it used to be that the IRS would recoup them and keep those refunds through the processing, through the tax return year of when the offer is accepted. That will no longer occur. I don't want to say buried in there, but one of the additional items with that policy change is that previous to it, if there was a pending offer and compromise or OIC, is that OBRs were not permitted on those. And now with the policy change, OBRs are permitted to receive the refund, you know, that expected refund, even though the offer is still pending. It has not been accepted yet. And it still surrounds whether, you know, regarding the hardship situation. As it has happened in the past that taxpayers, you know, were in a situation, they had balances due, they have a pending offer, they're expecting a refund, and the IRS says, no, we have to take your refund. So this is a huge policy change. That information, if you bear with me, I'll tell you exactly where that can be viewed. So there is interim guidance having to do with the IRM sections directly quoting this. They can be found on the IRS website under recent interim guidance to staff for Part 5 collecting process. And it's titled IRM 5.8.1 interim guidance on refund recoupments. And it explains, it's on irs.gov, so it's there for the general public. Anybody can see it and see what the changes are and the policy, and as well as changes in the IRM sections that mention the allowance of the OBRs.
Okay, thank you. Now, if someone is requesting the OBR, are they entitled to their full refund that is reported on their tax return? Or are they entitled to the refund to the extent of their hardship? Because I was reading something about that, and I just want to make sure that, you know, everyone that's listening understand what the taxpayer will be entitled to.
Good question, because they are entitled to only up to how much they can document is their hardship. So that's where it comes into play that, you know, there may be some things that you can't actually document. Like I said, eviction notices and utility shut-off notices. Well, what if the taxpayer is living, has already gone through all that and now is living in a shelter? That's something that's very difficult could be documented for the IRS to accept it. But documentation can be given to the local taxpayer advocate, and they can accept that. You know, some shelters are hesitant to write information, personal information about people residing there because, you know, they're afraid of disclosing information. So, you know, that's where the verbal play comes into effect, where that particular taxpayer might need more than what they can show through those notices and things like that, or even doing the collection information statement, that they really need the entire refund and not just, you know, if the refund's $3,000 and they can only document $2,000, you know, through other means, they really need the entire amount. Because what happens is the IRS, whether it be the IRS directly customer service or taxpayer advocate service, we can only get that refund issued out to the amount that can be documented. When we do that, there is a drawback, is that it will delay the remaining part of the refund because the system has to wait for it to actually be updated to be able to show that the refund was issued manually to release that freeze to allow the remaining money to be issued out for the portion of the refund.
Okay, thank you. There's a question. It says, can a refund that has already been offset be returned to the taxpayer in cases of severe hardship? So let's say that this taxpayer has a pending eviction. Can a refund be returned to them?
Normally, no. There are some exceptions.
Okay.
One of them is referred to it is if there was a clerical error, which the problem with clerical error is you have to think of it in terms of whether something didn't happen as intended, where documentation was missing. There was a slip of the digit when the IRS filled out paperwork for the refund. And so it went out for less than what it was. Clerical error is not something that's done normally by someone with the term being a clerk as a title. Not following IRS process to the extent of, well, they didn't initiate the actions on time is not a clerical error. So for a clerical error to exist is that the taxpayer timely requested assistance from a customer service rep or taxpayer advocate in time to process the paperwork for the OBR. The taxpayer provides satisfactory documentation of the economic hardship, and the manual refund has been approved by either, for taxpayer advocate, it would be the LTA, customer service, it would be their management, and the paperwork is submitted to the accounting department prior to the date of the offset. So there's a fine line in clerical. It could happen in other instances, though, where the money offset to, where that balance due, wasn't even correct in the first place. Then we could go from the standpoint of getting that balance due corrected so that that refund can be issued out.
Okay. Wow.
There's a lot.
It is. Well, thank you. Now, we talked about the OBR process with, you know, current returns. What happens if you have to file an amended return? Is the procedure still the same or is it different?
It actually is very similar, because in filing an amended tax return, if you file, the tax return is filed, it's fully settled, and now all of a sudden, there's reason to amend it where you're going to receive an additional refund, but you have that liability in another tax period. So OBRs can be done for any reason, and it could be if it was a claim for say abatement of penalties where you'd be expecting an overpayment. That overpayment is what could be subject to that that offsetting. So the OBR rules apply the same way. Timing wise, when an amended return is filed, it does create a account freeze on the system here to prevent any other actions happening until that is addressed. That freeze, when the adjustment is done, the OBR can be requested along with that amended return, so that when the adjustment is done, it could be considered at the time, and still bypass offsetting that liability to the liability.
Okay. Is there any issue? Well, not issue, but when can an IRS not bypass a debit? So in other words, when is an OBR not applicable in the taxpayer's case?
Okay, when the taxpayer has other non-tax liabilities, such as past due child support, I'd say student loans, but there's some forgiveness going on with them. I don't truly know all the aspects for that. But something else out there that is not a tax debt, but it is a federal debt. If they owe any type of debt, and that's directly in the IRC specified, is that the IRS cannot bypass that debt. So, and prior to the IRS allowing the offset to happen to them, they have to make sure that they have their money first. So
Okay.
that's one of the key things there. And it could be the non-tax debt. It could be a state it could be also state liabilities where they put in like a claim in bankruptcy. Hey, they owe money to us. Before you refund it to them, it comes to us first. So the federal is going to make sure that their tax liabilities are paid, and then it would go towards those other non-tax debts that staking a claim.
Okay. Okay. Now, I was reading, because you're the expert at the offset bypass refunds, I will say that, but I was reading something in our listserv for clinicians about when someone's requesting a OBR, are they requesting this to TAS or they're calling the IRS directly? The IRM that I looked at was IRM 21.4 6.511-1, and this was about who to direct the OBRs to. So can you explain about that? Because I'm pretty sure that some taxpayers don't even know about how to make this request and who to talk to about the OBRs.
Not only do they not know about them, they don't even know that they can request one. It's not public information. If you go onto irs.gov and type in for the search box, offset bypass refund or OBR, it comes up with no results. It's not there. That's internal terminology, but it's available. It's in the code that, you know, we can do this. So with the IRM, anybody in the IRS can do an offset bypass refund. So that could be someone in customer service on the phone from filing a tax return or an amended return, or it could be somebody in collections where they're, you know, considering abating a penalty of any sorts, you know, pertaining to an individual taxpayer. So anybody can do them, but having the knowledge and having the information ready to get that information directly to them, be ready to fax them. To do that, is key, so that you can call the IRS directly in customer service. You have everything, all your papers ready. They're sitting in the fax machine. Just give me a phone. Just give me a telephone number. That helps them out because we're talking a case of a hardship, which meets taxpayer advocate criteria. And any function or anybody within the IRS, if they can assist, immediately take action immediately upon that, then they don't have to refer the case to taxpayer advocate service. So you're making the process a lot faster. Technically, in the IRM, it tells them immediately is within 24 hours. Employees do not work 24 hours around the clock. So it's got to be usually by the end of their shift, because then their next shift would be after the 24 hours. So as much information as you can give them up front. Otherwise, they do have to refer it to taxpayer advocate service because it meets our criteria. Now, there have been some temporary things on taxpayer advocate criteria on what they will accept and not accept in the cases where there's nothing we can do. If this tax return is held up in processing, the mail hasn't even started processing it or anything like that. There's nothing we can do to find that tax return because there's multitudes of paper that involved there. So those ones, taxpayer advocate has put a temporary in place that they will not accept those cases. However, if your case involves an OBR request, those are accepted. So contacting taxpayer advocate service because customer service can't help, you want to mention that directly on the phone that, yeah, it's processing of a regional tax return, but we're requesting an OBR. So that way it does get accepted into the program. It's, like I said, anybody can do it, but if you're not having great results right away, you will want to contact taxpayer advocate service. And I know there's concerns out there that you don't want to overburden the taxpayer advocate service. We're overwhelmed. We all are. But this is something it's important. I mean, don't shy away from contacting taxpayer advocate when you really should be.
Well, thank you, Maria. I was about to ask Rebecca a question or a comment, but before that, there is a question in the chat. It says, is there any way to utilize OBRs for returns that have been sent to exams?
Good question. I can't say I've seen or experienced anything there, but if it was an amended return that was selected for exam where it's coming in requesting a refund, then yes, we'll be part of it, but they can't do the OBR until a determination is made on that. If the outstanding liability, if there's a tax to if the balance due tax liability is a result of an examination that was completed and assessed, and that's the balance due, and you're expecting a refund, then absolutely, why not? It's the same concept. Whether a request was sent in for reconsideration of the exam or not, and they haven't acted on that, that's trying to resolve the balance due, but the OBR is still can be requested on refund that you're expecting, because that money would still offset until determination is made. Does that kind of answer it?
Yes, thank you so much, Maria. You gave us so much information. I think this is a great segue to talk to Rebecca. So Rebecca, you're hearing all this. What is the perspective, like the taxpayer's perspective? Do you see any issues, confusion? I just really want to know from the taxpayer perspective how this all ties in with this upcoming tax season.
Certainly. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. I've learned so much, and it's so great to hear you, Maria, share the information with us about this hidden gem, I would say. Having worked with clients and let me say for the folks who are here, I see a couple of names that I recognize, but Prosperity Now hosts the Taxpayer Opportunity Network, which is the national convening body for volunteer income tax assistance programs. So for VITA programs. And so for you LITCs, hopefully we are close partners. And you are close partners with our members and our partners in your various communities. If not, I'm going to encourage you to do that probably about 3 times today. But what I've seen in my experiences is this is really, really helpful. This can be really helpful since I've been working with VITA clients over the last 10 years. There's not an awful lot of people who come through who may, have a circumstance, a situation that is appropriate for this moment, because the vast majority of VITA clients do get refunds. But I was just sharing with someone this morning, like we actually have, 13% of our clients have a balance due. And then, those clients who get refunds, there are some of our clients who come in not expecting to get that refund, and have pretty much resolved in their minds that they're not going to have it because they have they owe back taxes, and the IRS takes their refund every year, and they're going to continue to do it until that debt is resolved. And so this is really good, really timely information to share with our clients and with our audiences, particularly. And what we do is share that out with our VITA partners. Like, here are the things to listen for, because if somebody comes in and says, yeah, you say I'm going to get a refund, but they're going to take my money because they do every year because I owe back debt, then that is a flag for us and a trigger for us to say, okay, actually, if you're experiencing hardship, there is an opportunity for you actually to go ahead and claim that refund. And hopefully, work with our partners, the LITC, to help them get through that process to get that refund.
Wow, thank you. Now, Maria, I have, not Maria, I'm sorry, but Rebecca, I have a question. Now, let's say that with some taxpayers, some of them don't have a bank account to have their refunds directly deposited. Now, let's say if some VITA programs are using like bank products where the client will receive a check, do you see this being an issue if they're trying to request the OBR for this tax year?
And that was for me.
Yes.
I think it depends actually on the IRS's processes. Our partners typically encourage people to do direct deposit. They encourage people to get their refund by, electronically. I think for us, the issue would be it's a lack of trust for our clients. And so what I've experienced is that clients who think that they have a balance due, and that the IRS may be taking a part of their refund, some or all of their refund, to cover that balance, those are very, very reluctant and hesitant to actually put their bank account information on the tax return. That's not happening. I haven't seen a person yet who would say, yes, I think I have a balance due, but let me just give them my account information just in case. That doesn't happen a lot. And so what I do foresee happening is in those situations that people will continue to just let that return be filed without any account information if they suspect that they have a debt, even though they're due a refund, because they're just hesitant and apprehensive about the possibility of the IRS having their bank account information. And not necessarily using that for direct deposit.
Okay. That's oh, go ahead, Maria. I'm sorry.
I was going to highly recommend to have a conversation with the client and explain that if you feel they have this hardship situation, to encourage them to provide that bank account information for possibly either direct deposit. In the cases of where if they have a RAC or a RAL, like a refund anticipation loan, or gone through a something to get that refund quicker on the return with those various agreements with software providers and things like that, and preparers, is that If the OBR is honored and approved through anybody within the IRS, then they will issue a paper manual refund. However, taxpayer advocate has the ability to actually work with the accounting department to have that manual refund issued as a direct deposit. If it was a RAC or RAL account, that's bank account information there, their taxpayer advocate service has the ability, we try to still honor that agreement. That way, any fees that are charged to the client through those services, they'll receive the direct deposit to be able to deduct their fees and get those funds to the taxpayer. If like I said, anybody in the IRS can do an OBR, but they can only do a paper check. In cases, hardship, depending what's going on, taxpayer advocate does have the ability to do a direct deposit manual refund, which gets that funds to them sooner. It could be in a situation where a taxpayer needs it as a direct deposit because particularly now with COVID, it was more so last year, being able to even go to the bank and cash a check was a struggle. Banks, closed down, nobody's coming in here. We can't cash checks or whatever, type of thing. So, that still may be going on in some locations. We need the direct deposit. And I hate to drum up business for taxpayer advocate service. We all want to try to ease the burden, but this is important. It's important to your clients and to the general public out there that, if you're having difficulties with the contacting customer service or even a PPS or something like that, and getting these things to happen, what need to happen, absolutely contact taxpayer advocate service. Even if electronically filed and they can't see, IRS customer service can't see it, stop right here and call local taxpayer advocate service. I hate to say it, but it's your best bet.
And I think it ties into a question. I think you somewhat answered it, but someone in the chat said, they're afraid of calling the IRS because if they're, eventually, let's say they're trying to submit a OBR for their client, but it's taken hours to get someone on the phone. So are you suggesting that, with this wait to speak to someone in the IRS, if that's not successful, then maybe call TASK for assistance?
Absolutely. I mean, customer service, you can wait on hold for hours. And I think they even have I've heard they had a cutoff time that after you've been on hold for so long, all of a sudden your call is gone and dropped. It's like, what do you do? I mean, I can't stress the importance of this, of, what these funds are for and the reason for this. People need the money and we need to help them out. We're in bad shape. If you've had that experience already in the past, where you sit on the phone for hours, you're not getting through, and there's a distrust there of, I've already experienced it. It doesn't look like things are changing. Then, even before filing in particular case of electronic return, don't file yet and call the taxpayer advocate service. I know we have a lot of work here, but where else are you going to go?
So on that note, I'm going to drop in the chat another line. I very seldom give folks 829-1040 because the wait times, but I always send my clients and friends, family members to the TAC appointment line. I always get an answer. Like I haven't heard anybody yet that didn't get an answer. And the taxpayer can call and tell them their situation. And I believe on the TAC appointment line, the whole goal is to keep you from going into the office for an appointment. So the assisters on the line will actually answer as many questions as they can, and they will do their very best to help you on the phone. So that you don't have to schedule an appointment. But I know some time ago, the TACs were, over flooded with appointments and they were really filled. I can report that the last couple of times that I've had to go near a TAC office, it was pretty much empty. So there weren't a lot of appointments there. So you might actually experience some relief and get a faster response by going through the Taxpayer Assistance Center. The other thing I do want to share as well is that the IRS is having these taxpayer experience days that are coming up. They're going to be on Saturdays throughout the filing season. If I can find the IRS news release, I can share those with you. But those are going to have TAC and I believe TAS representatives as well. And so there'll be select communities throughout, across the country. But it also is a good time, one, to reach out and forge a relationship, with your local TAS person or someone at the TAC office, so that, if you come across these instances, at least you have a number you can call. There's an opportunity to do a warm handoff. You might have somebody that can walk you through the process and kind of help usher you through that process. So definitely, if they're coming in your communities, it's definitely an opportunity to get out, make some new friends. And as Maria said, like, there's a lot of work to do. And so it's really important for us to really have the network and the support system in place to help us to get through it efficiently.
I totally agree. I did see the news release about Saturday appointments as well at the TAC offices. So, and that's great because I know for me, I work 5 days a week and most of us do, and sometimes even potentially more than that. But it's like, well, how can I go to the not, go here or there, whatever, if I work and they're closed on weekends? So having those Saturday hours are, a great deal for the general public that's still trying to make ends meet and work once they are able to.
Yeah, Rebecca, thank you so much for that. I didn't even know about tax, so thank you. I appreciate that. Is there any other information you want to provide to everyone that's listening, Maria or Rebecca?
I do myself.
Okay.
Just a couple of things to point out, because I do work for Taxpayer Advocate Service and I've been here many years. I just wanted to point out the annual report to Congress came out earlier. And things regarding OBRs that were mentioned in there or something similar to it is there is the highlights of the TAS success stories. And one of them does talk about the offsets of the recovery rebate credit for the refundable credits. That particular type of thing where the EIP payments that were issued out were not to be offset to a federal tax debt. And then it came to when you filed your tax return and reconciling and having the rebate recovery credit on your tax return, they also made a policy, which is the same policy of the OBR, is to not offset it to those federal tax debts. So it's something similar. The other thing that may be of interest is in the Purple Book, which is the population of legislative recommendations. There's a new one there this year that is listed as number 17. And it's to amend the IRC 6402 Parent A, which pertains to OBRs. As far as the offsetting of the refund, to prohibit offset of the earned income tax credit, known as the EITC portion of a tax refund. So there was a proposal for legislative change for up and coming that maybe consider not offsetting the EITC portion, the refund, which will help a great deal because these are the people that are experiencing the hardships, and that money was designated, that credit, for someone who qualifies for it.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Can definitely get behind that. And I think that the last thing that I would say, once again, is to encourage partnerships, especially with your local VITA programs. Again, I represent low-income taxpayers, which everybody here does, low-income filers. And for the VITA program, really our role is to get them up to the e-file. and provide any ancillary supports and information that might help them to improve their household financial stability and well-being in the tax time moment. So definitely this is an example of something that our partners can do to help to improve their household, the client's household financial well-being, and to leverage the tax code. We're going to leverage the rules. The rules are what they are, and this just happens to be an opportunity where we can actually help our clients to benefit a little bit more. I think one of the things that I will say again would be to ask for your help in partnership, because again, our sites, our partners, we get folks up to e-file. We'll e-file that return and it's accepted. And I think I was Caleb. I was on a call like last week with the ABA. And there was conversation about, and we were actually talking about this, and we talked about how like a VITA partner can actually, once we hear those buzzwords through conversation and interviewing with the client, they're probably going to take my refund. They do this every year. I'm having a hard time, so once our clients and our volunteers hear those buzzwords, there's an opportunity, particularly if there's a relationship with the LITC in their area, to say, hold on a second, I have a partner who's going to help you, who can help you with this. And the VITA partner can push pause on submitting that e-file until that client connects with the LITC to talk about the OBR and the process and get all those I's dotted and T's crossed, because we understand that this is a very short window that we're working in. So yeah, we can connect the partner with the LITC, dot the I's, cross the T's for the OBR, and then the VITA partner can hit send and submit that e-file to help to make sure that we get that done in the right time frame, within the right window. But again, that depends on partnership, and it depends on the folks on this call actually knowing your VITA programs in your communities, who are preparing returns for the low-income clients who would benefit the most and be the ones most likely experiencing the hardship and be in need of an OBR. So yeah, reach out if you don't know who the VITA partner is in your community, need help, resources, just reach out to me and we can get you connected.
Thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate that. There is a question in the chat. I think we touched on it somewhat, but it says, how difficult is it to get an OBR for an amended return where the processing can be slow?
Once again, back to Taxpayer Advocate Service. It can be difficult because, like everything is slow and backlogged. The IRS had a total period of actual shutdown where nobody was allowed into the buildings. That was under what was referred to as an evacuation order, which the IRS is still under as well. Certain individuals whose work is not can be done remotely still have to go into the office, but once again, with limitations, they can only allow so many people in the building under certain conditions. Amended returns now for the most recent 2 tax years for individuals can be filed electronically. Those are being processed a lot faster versus a paper return, if they can do that way. But once again, electronically filing, there are limitations on documents that could be uploaded to show hardship or to say OBR request. So it gets rather difficult. I would imagine it would be rather difficult. Not only that, processing time frame for amended returns, of course, is much longer than an original tax return. So the IRS would be hesitant. Well, they sent in documentation with it, but do they still have a problem? It's been a while. It's been 2 or 3 months maybe. The taxpayer experiencing that hardship needs those funds a lot faster. So I do suggest Taxpayer Advocate if it's been filed already or not. Taxpayer Advocate Service cannot accept directly the processing of an original or an amended tax return, but they can still work within the process, still have it done, possibly done faster. They can absolutely send recommendations to the functions that have the work in their inventory already to get them to pull that case and have it done sooner.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just making sure that I'm not missing any one question in the chat. I think we answered all of the questions. If there's any more, yeah, if there's any more questions, if you can put those in the chat. But yeah, I think you answered everything. Maria and Rebecca, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for all this information. I learned too, and I think with this information, we can share this with our clinic because there are just some things that some taxpayers don't know. And, you know, some of our clients, we have a pending OIC and eventually they may have a refund and they're scared to file because they assume that the IRS will take their refund. And so, you know, knowing this information, we can share that with them and hopefully they'll give them some sort of relief. But thank you. Oh, there is a question. It says, what is the process and time for e-file amended returns?
Much shorter than paper. I can't say off the top of my head. I've seen, depending on the complicity of the amended return too, could be anywhere from close to what it used to be, 4 to 6 weeks for the amended. Because that type of information, when electronically filed now, that's work that can be done through remote work, because it will come up on the computer screen, everything. There's no paper involved there. So those will move a lot faster. Versus paper return, now you're back into a campus location in a building where I had to say, I get emails now on a daily basis. I think there was no email yesterday, and I'm all associated with one campus that's not even the submission processing site, about the number of employees and what locations they've been in that tested positive for COVID.
Wow.
Or positive. Now, with all protocols, if that happens, the area has to be shut down and cleaned, which is a disruption to the people who work in that area.
Right.
So anything paper is still waiting from last year. So I do recommend, if the process isn't working, it's stuck someplace, contact Taxpayer Advocate, tell them up front. I filed an original, my clients filed an original return, and they filed it, or they're filing an amended return. They're filing a Form 843 claim request for abatement of penalties that would cause an overpayment that you're requesting an OBR.
Okay.
We can't do every Taxpayer Advocate Service really can't do everything. They're trying to limit things that we can't help on, but an OBR is something we can. And by having the limitations on changing the criteria of what we will accept, leaves that door open for doing this as well.
Thank you. And there's one more question I think we can most likely conclude after this. Can TAS accept OBR documentation via secure mail?
Once your client is in Taxpayer Advocate Service, the case advocates do have a way of doing methods for either secured email procedures to do that, or they also have, majority of them have individual e-fax numbers where you're faxing the information and it's converted into a secured email to the case advocate.
Okay.
Technology-wise has come a great way. They were forced into it because of COVID and teleworking, and absolutely. And the other quick thing I want to mention is yes, you're helping your client get that refund to help alleviate their situation. Try to work with them regarding the balance due. Is it right that you're bypassing in the first place? is that something that they changed or, needs attention? If the balance due is right, help work with them to set up alternative methods other than just leaving it unpaid. Maybe an installment agreement, or you had mentioned you have a client with a pending offering compromise, non-collectible statuses, things like that. Help them out.
Thank you so much. Well, let's see, I think you answered this question and it's almost time. So again, thank you for all the information. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure that everyone here that listened to you guys give great advice and information, I'm sure that they have learned as well. So thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you to everyone that decided to join us to learn about offset bypass refunds. I hope that you learned as much as I have. But thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.